Hi, everybody. There's only two of us today.
There is.
I'm in my pajamas because it's nighttime and my bags are packed to leave and get out of Dodge. Jamie, it's the two of us. How do you feel about that? Dan's absence today?
Life happens sometimes, and as we told him, like, enjoy human contact and physical celebrations and all of that kind of shit, because it's not happening over here. So enjoy it.
Yeah.
I've just noticed. Does your T-shirt say "Women are good"?
No, it says two women from God.
That's a pretty special shirt. But yeah, no Dan today. Just you and me. So expect it to be back and forthy. We're not doing any switching around the houses. We've had to reset the whole kind of look and feel just for this week and for next. So Chunt, you're not here next week. No, you're enjoying family time and doing the physical human being thing. Probably while I'm still cooped up at home, waiting to get a haircut and suntan and just look like a human being again rather than a ghost.
Everything else.
But yeah, two weeks of this 2-person setup, and then we should be back to normal.
Nice. I'll be good mix up anyway. But I'm looking forward to getting away, getting out of Dodge and seeing the family. And I've been holding off going to the barbers because the three brothers we're going to go to a barber shop when we're down there and get our beards treated. So that's why it's looking a bit kind of all over the shop. But yeah, otherwise it's been playing a lot of games. What, you've been really playing a lot? I know you've mentioned a few stuff during the week.
I don't want to dig too much into Outriders because I know we all want to play Outriders, but I started it last night. I did the little trick of making my Xbox think I was in Australia, so I got access yesterday evening. Very impressed with what I've played so far. Boss fights are fun. They've tweaked a few bits. They've given us a motion blur toggle. Thank fuck. I can turn motion blur off. Not make myself feel sick when I'm sat this close to a screen. I can't remember what else I played this week. Batman. Yeah, I've gone back to Telltale Series 2 of Batman. So I played episode 1 when it first came out. I bought like the first episode, when it was like waiting to, and then here's next episode. And I fell off it. Episode 2, I played the whole thing on Game Pass when it was in beta on Android. So it was like when they were doing that beta, it was one of the games that were just available. So I played through the whole of the second episode. I was like, I fucking like this. I'm going to carry on. The beta finished. It had its full launch, and then the game just wasn't there. So I've been keeping an eye on it. It's been in my wish list on the Xbox store, and it was down. It was 30% off this week. It was like £8 or something to get the rest of the episodes. So yeah, 3, 4, and 5. Finished 3. I'm at the start of 4, and then I said I got stuck playing Outriders last night. But yeah, no, I don't think I've played anything else. I feel like I've told you guys I finished something this week, and I can't remember what that was. So
yeah, you did.
It's been a long week.
Don't remember what that was though.
I have absolutely zero idea as to what it was. But yeah, those things are happening. And I know I played Avengers and get a bit more Avengers. That was the other thing I played this week. There's some bugs in their achievements, which is really irritating. There's an achievement for getting 5 characters over the level 5 or something like that, and I've got every single character, including the downloadable content ones, way over level 5 now. And it's still just like isn't registering, and it's like, why you do this? But yeah, I got a few achievements in that and was just rallying around. I saw that you were ahead of me, and I was like, nah, there's one day left of the month. I need to catch this up, and I did. I beat you in the end, just in case you were paying any attention. Finished 40 game score in front of you. I like little things that Xbox does like that. It's like, the little achievement tracking thing's cool. Really looking forward to more.
Jamie's not going to catch up to me this week. Like you're just going to be lagging this month.
Yeah, you've got your time off coming up. A bit of remote play on the go. Have you been playing? What have you played this week? And are you looking to get any time into anything specific while you're away?
Yeah, look, I did plan to do Outriders remotely because it launched today. But like I mentioned earlier, I think I'll save it for when I come home and just enjoy the campaign in my own peace without the external noise of little children running around and jumping all over me and stuff, being excited to see me and whatever. So I think I might just get into the DLC for Avengers instead, because I don't really need to focus too much on that. And just see how that goes. And my brother's got it. I think he's installed it, so we might do some co-op stuff to give it a try. I haven't done that yet. So yeah, we'll see. Otherwise, I've been pretty lax on the games this week because I played a lot last week. So I've just been having a break, catching up on some shows, and been preoccupied with the lockdowns and are we coming or going? Are they lifting or not? I've just been like glued to the news, so I haven't really been feeling like playing much. But no, I've just been on a bit of a shopping spree anyway for games. A few PS2 games, and bought a PS2. It's on the way, and getting into the old stuff. While I still can. Sony's locking it all down and removing it from the online stores, and it's time to go get the physical stuff.
Well, I didn't realize last week when we spoke about that was speculation. It wasn't confirmed until this week, was it? So, yeah, weird choice. I was on the fence to read the Vita myself, just because I really enjoyed the Vita. I enjoyed having one. I've had no reason to have one since moving back to the UK, but in Australia I had one, before the Switch existed, and then I think I maybe used it as part of a trade-in towards the original Switch. I seem to think that's what I'd done, because it's like, I've finished what I want to play here, and the Switch is going to be a superior machine. But yeah, just like Persona, and I had a decent digital library on there again. I know people are all physical, but one of the reasons that digital libraries are so great is, like, then I didn't need it, but then years down the line, if it's like, well, I want to get this for nostalgia purposes and maybe finish Persona 4 Golden finally, I could do that because my purchase exists. So yeah, there's reasons behind it, and they're still super cheap. I've toyed with the idea of importing one from Japan. The shipping is free, and they've got all of the different color options and stuff. Like, you go onto eBay, you can grab one for here. I think it's about 110 £110, and that's with like a 16 or 32 gig memory card, which is pretty cool. The chargers are universal. I've got plenty of, like, the way they separate. You've got the brick end and then the power cord. The power cord's just a DC input, so I've got them knocking about. So it's not like it's going to be a challenge to use. But then I could get the OLED one, the original OLED screen one, here for about £30 or £40 less. So toying with the idea, but as I said to you,
what did you say? How much was that for the Vita?
The OLED screen one. Or the Japanese import.
Yeah. I'm looking at eBay.
Yeah, the Japanese imports here, you can get them for about 110, 115. For you, that's probably going to be about 250, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
After the eBay money's converting.
Yeah, I'm seeing some for, I don't think they're OLED, but about $100, 150. There's some on here that are already like 220, $300.
It's what I find strange. So it's basically, like, for me, it's like, right, do you want the slimmer model? Which, to be fair, I remember I had at one time, when it first came out, I bought the original OLED screen one, and it still is one of the best screens I've ever seen. It was beautiful back then. It was good.
Yeah, I remember it.
But then I remember years later, when I was living in Australia, I got the slim version, and the screen is notably worse, but the whole form factor, and it's more comfortable to hold, and it was cheaper. Like, there's a lot of things it had going for it. So it's like, which one do you lean towards, like, better screen, or do you get a nifty color which comes with a memory card and import it from Japan and wait for, I think for me it'd have been about 3 weeks for it to get here. So there's pros and cons to each, but then I have to sit there and go, what's the reality? What do you want this thing for? Like, Persona 4 Golden came out on Steam, I own it there. Like, and it's like, right, so the PlayStation games that were there, what do you really want to play on it? And the answer is probably fucking nothing. So it's a waste of money. It'd just be having access to this machine for nostalgia's sake, which, I'm not really in much of a position to do at the moment. So we'll see. Toying with the idea, maybe not. But yeah, that was kind of leading us onto the Sony chat. So it's been confirmed. They're getting rid of it. Is that why you've picked a PS2 and 3 up, just to avoid those kind of situations?
Yeah, 100%. Now that it's confirmed, I'm glad I got my PS3 now. Because some of the games that I've been looking at and picking up, I picked up the first 3 Killzone games in the last 24 hours on eBay, and they're all like $5 or $10 something each, free postage. And as soon as the network goes down, I've still got about 8 more games on my list that I want to get for PS3. But you just know that as soon as PSN's down, those are just going to go boom. And if you want to get in, you got to get in now. And why I asked about the price on the Vita is because, I don't have a digital library saved on my PSN for Vita stuff at all. So if I wanted to get into it, I'd have to do it now. But the good thing is you'll still be able to download all your shit after they take down the games for sale. You'll still be able to have access to your stuff, but I won't be able to buy them after that if I wanted to get in on it, which is disappointing because it's barely a 10-year-old system, you know?
Yeah,
Barely.
9 years old, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not like it's past its prime like a PS2 or whatever else around that era. Like PS3 is kind of getting on a bit, but so yeah, it's a bit concerning. So I have been uh, using the eBay services a lot. Like they do afterpay on a lot of games as well. So if there's stuff that I don't want to spend up front, I can just afterpay a bunch of games and just pay it off for a pittance every time. So it's not much of a dent to me. But yeah, but the Vita games themselves are so expensive. Like, I don't know if you've looked at the cartridges and stuff on there for games.
Yeah,
but
I saw like I think it was the two most expensive I saw were Amazing Spider-Man and Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
yeah,
Maybe the two mega
they're
expensive
already
ones.
yeah they're already up there in price. So I think I'm just gonna have to just put my arms up on it and be like, nah, just go on your PS3 and your PS2, and there's PS1 games on there as well that I might pick up because some of them on eBay are like $100 or $300, but on PSN they're like $10. So I'll work it out that way.
Yeah,
but,
I think it's one of those things like looking at the library that you want. Like what is the library you want to own, and then that's what's deterring me, because it's like the three best games that I played on Vita ever were Injustice. Injustice was exactly the same as the 360 and PS3 version. It wasn't gimped, it was wicked. The Persona 4 Golden that I already mentioned, and what was the other one? It was on the tip of my tongue right then. I was like, there's these three games that were amazing. Gravity Rush. Gravity Rush was really unique, really cool. It's been remastered. Like, I can play that on my PlayStation 5. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not something you have to have that system for. And this is why, like I was saying to you, the whole handheld mobile gaming thing. I know you've been into Yakishi for a while. And as we were talking about before we pushed record, like I found the Kishi really difficult to hold. It wasn't comfortable in the form factor I was using. My phone was massive. It just didn't feel good. When you compare it to how nice the Switch feels or how nice the Vita feels, like it didn't do it for me. So I've been looking at the backbone instead, just to see if that's maybe going to solve those problems. Because all these games that I'm like, that'd be cool to play handheld, or when you've got children, you can't just sit in front of a console. It's just not possible. But if there's times at weekends and it's like, oh, the little guy's playing, I've got another child on the way. Like, there's going to be plenty of time where it's like, oh, you can't just escape to sit in front of a console. So having that ability to just pick your phone up, strap something to it and play away, or pick a Vita up or a Switch up, it's why over the last year, like I've said, the Switch became my favorite system. Like it did. And I'm always about the best graphics, the best way of playing a video game, the highest frame rates. But the Switch was what I spent probably more time playing last year than anything. Now, don't get me wrong, the Xbox is catching that up. But again, having the ability to remote play to my phone or my tablet and just sit there with my actual Xbox controller is pretty cool. So you can see the way the world is moving and the way the industry is capitalizing on stuff like that. I mean, I know I'm not a specific use case. There's probably plenty of people that do the same thing for the same reason. So yeah, the nostalgia button around the Vita, we'll see. But I'm pleased you managed to grab that PS2. That seemed like a pretty good deal. What did you pick up with it?
I picked up. Well, I've already got this Transformers game, which is the whole reason I wanted a PS2 in the first place, because you can't get that anywhere. It's locked on the PS2, and it's based on one of my favorite iterations of Transformers, and it's made by an Aussie studio in Melbourne as well, which I was like, holy crap. I played it so much back in the day, and I bought it before I bought the console. I've got it on my shelf over there, and ever since I'm like, God, I want to play it. But so I got that and Killzone 1 on PS2, so now I've got all three of the Killzone games, and I've ordered there's a Ghost Rider game. It's like
I remember that Ghost Rider.
Yeah, it's like a God of War kind of ripoff, but it's based in the movie, but it's not. I remember playing it at a mate's place once ages ago, and I've always wanted to give it a proper go.
Did it come out on the original Xbox? Because I think I remember playing it on the original Xbox. It must have been a PS2, if not. But
yeah, it's PS2 exclusive, that one. So, and they've got there's a Power Rangers game I've got on my watch list called Super Legends. It's like a beat 'em up side scroller thing. It's low budget as hell, but looks all right. I'm not going to pay a lot for it. And then the other game I've got on my watch list at the moment is a Superman game that was exclusive to PlayStation as well. So there's a lot of other games on PS2 that I'm like, I don't really care about. You know, it's got a massive library, but it's all just stuff. Oh, Chaos Legions is the other one. My brother's a big fan of that game. I wasn't really, but I'm just kind of going to buy it for him. So on the off chance he might be able to play it if I'm in the proximity at some point in the future. But there are games on there that I want to get. The third party stuff I'm not going to bother with because I've probably already got them on my Xbox collection already. So there's just a few niggling games on that platform that I've always wanted to go back to or try.
Mhm.
And now I'm just opening the door to do it. But I mean, we're just talking about all this stuff. Like, it keeps reminding me of the Jim Ryan quote about who wants to play these old games, like that kind of stuff that he's gone on about. And you just look at social media after this announcement where they've officially saying they're closing this shit down, and everybody's like, "Oh, what the hell? This sucks." And then Microsoft comes out the next couple of days with like, "Hey, we're adding 16 more backwards compatible games from Xbox and Xbox 360 to our cloud service in preview at the moment." Now you can play like Xbox now has more Nintendo 64 games available on their handheld device than Nintendo does.
Wild, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's just like Microsoft comes out with this flex and it just makes Sony look so bad again. I just have to wonder, like, will they walk this back at some point, or is this leading to another solution of theirs? It begs the question. I know there's a lot of people out there and gatekeepers in the Sony community that are like, "Oh, I want to play new games." And it's like, well, that's good for you, but there are a lot of people out there, including myself, that still enjoy going back and playing the old games, even though they might look rough, but they still play good, and it's nostalgia and all that kind of stuff. And there's reasons why people have shelves full of shit. And you should make it available to your people. I don't see any reason why that they're shutting that down, unless it's a cost thing that they don't have the resource to keep maintaining it or something. Or in part of the quote, they're saying we want to focus our resources on PS4 and PS5 games in the catalog. So I'm thinking, well, how hard is it to just leave them there? I don't understand.
I think I'd play devil's advocate on that and just say, what if they're planning to revamp the whole of PlayStation? I don't specifically believe this, but as I said, devil's advocate, are they going to revamp PlayStation now? And take their existing Vita and PS3 libraries and roll it into that. Now, any of the PS3 games you can play on now at the moment are all streamed. You don't download them to the console; they're all streamed. So, would they take a similar approach with the Vita, where you can stream a Vita game via PlayStation now, and they include the whole libraries to try and get a bit of leverage back on Game Pass? I think it's a stupid idea if that is what they're doing. They need to improve PlayStation now to be more competitive. Of course they do. But making streamable versions of PS3 and PS Vita games, probably not the way to do it. I don't know what the way to do it is, but that doesn't strike me as being I don't sit there and go, wow, look at this massive value I'm getting because these two libraries are now available to stream on PS Now. I think people would rather have the game installed on their hard drive, similar to what we can do with, Xbox games anywhere. Like I can play original Xbox games, I can play 360 games, I can play Xbox One games, all from one machine, like downloaded to that machine. We're not at a stage yet where this cloud stuff, as good as it's getting, I still personally perceive latency. I don't think it's like sitting in front of a TV. And I know I'm not the only person to think that. Those people who don't, like yourself, who don't perceive the latency with Xbox, with Game Pass and streaming and stuff, like, more power to him, awesome. But I still think it's got a way to improve. And Sony are notoriously further behind than Microsoft are in that regard.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be a weird move, but that's something they could be doing. But yeah, we've exhausted nearly 20 minutes talking about Sony and their bullshit. What else happened this week, Chunt?
Well, yeah, it's worth talking about though, just in light of the changes that Xbox are bringing out. Like, just to add on to a little bit of that, but it's a new topic of that announcement where Microsoft is bringing out more backwards compatible games to their cloud streaming service. I just hope that opens the door, like I mentioned earlier today to you, that it just twigged on me, like, they're not just new games, they're Xbox and 360 games where I've never been able to remote play them before. And now I'm just hoping, is this their next stage of this? Like, am I going to finally be able to play Blue Dragon via remote play somewhere and grind out some RPG, or revisit Lost Odyssey in the palm of my hands, or do my collectathon stuff in Banjo-Kazooie or something, or Oblivion. Like, I'd love to just go, holy crap, I'm playing Oblivion in my hands, like, it's awesome. And because every time I try to do that, it's like, it's not possible. There's an error message or whatever, like, you can't do that, some shit. And the moment I can do that, it just adds so much more value to it for me, where I'm just amazed, like the witchcraft that they've had to do to get the games working and backwards compatible, like the service that they offer there, and then to make it available through streaming and remote play. I mean, all of that shit shouldn't work, like, it's just so much stuff that it's 15 years worth of technology or something, crazy like that. You'd think there'd be some kind of problems. I'm sure there are behind the scenes that I've got no idea about, but it's just every time they put something out these days, it just works. It's just I'm that's my biggest thing this week that I'm more excited about. But I can't. We just discussed like what other topics that happened this week. I can't even remember because I'm just so excited about that shit.
Yeah,
what else is going on?
There's not been an awful lot of stuff going on. I mean, there's been a lot of memeing happening this morning about the fact that Microsoft have signed a deal with the US military that pays for like 3 Bethesdas, which I thought was quite amusing. It's like everybody's worried about Microsoft spending this much money on a game studio, and they just sign a contract 3 times the value of it. Microsoft will be fine. Anybody that's under any illusion that they don't have money is stupid. They're the most valuable company on the planet, which I didn't realize actually, that they'd overtaken Apple as the most valuable company on planet Earth. So well done to them. There's not been heaps, has there? There's been reviews coming out for Monster Hunter Rise, and there's been reviews for, starting to see like final previews / early reviews for Pokemon Snap as well, which they both seem to be doing great, which is wicked for the Switch to have 2 games absolutely stunk home. But I'll wait for Monster Hunter Rise for either a Switch Pro or when it eventually comes everywhere else. In 2 years exclusivity, did they sign on that or something? It's got a it's got a weird exclusivity window. Yeah, it's like it's over a year for sure.
Wow.
Which is a big.
I did wonder about that game because that's a massive game, and to have it stuck on Switch, where you can tell there's some definite, just from gameplay I've seen watching some streamers that I like to follow, there's some visual fidelity on there that it doesn't look quite as good, obviously, as Monster Hunter World. I mean, that looks pretty at the time. It still holds up, of course. And for such a game that sold over 4 million units in the weekend or whatever, to be stuck on that platform, I was surprised it was a Nintendo exclusive, actually, given how successful the previous one was. So,
well, they've regularly been Nintendo titles. Like, you look back at Generations, 3G, even Monster Hunter 4 on the Wii. Like, they've got quite the lineage from after 2. I don't think much went to PlayStation. I remember a lot of PlayStation 2 Monster Hunter titles. Then after that, it was very Nintendo. And they focused a lot on the handheld experiences, which is where the bulk of their audience is, which is why I think this went gangbusters this week. We heard 4 million units in 3 days. That's outrageous. I know there's a lot of Switches out there, but that's better than Animal Crossing's debut weekend when you think about how that like stomped home. But yeah, it's wicked for them to see. I'm just scrubbing through the news feed to see if there's any news we've missed this week, which I don't believe there is. It's been a very quiet week in terms of
very quiet week
in terms of news. Yeah, the Switch had that news the back end of I think it was after we recorded last week. Where these analysts are actually now starting to get confirmation of production starting in June for the Switch Pro, which means it's pretty much a real thing. I know you sent an article through about they were going to wait to use Nvidia's new technology, but that new technology is not due till the end of 2022, and there's a chip shortage at the moment. If I were Nintendo, I actually wouldn't be even trying to release a console this year. I wouldn't, because that silicon issue is proven to be a challenge for absolutely everybody. And I don't think they're going to have demand, right? So even if it's just a mid-gen refresh thing, they're going to need a solid what would you say, 5-6 million chips at minimum.
Easily, just to make sure there's enough.
And they're just
The
not. They're
last
just
thing
not
you
going to
want
get
is
it. Like,
yeah, because they sell out of everything. Besides that Mario one that came out, they're still on the shelves.
yeah. So yeah, there's nothing too much more for us to talk about. I remember seeing something earlier in the week about Call of Duty finally reducing its file size, which will please people who play.
Yay!
Which please people who play Call of Duty.
Man,
which, you know,
what would Activision do without Call of Duty? Well, that's a big money maker every year. When are people going to get over that game?
I don't know, but they'd be fine. They've got a lot of money. Well, they just sack developers and pay Bobby Kotick like outrageous amounts of money as we spoke about last week. But yeah, there's very, very strange. I don't understand how the franchise hasn't burned out. I burned out on the franchise years ago, and I played it religiously, like daily. I mean, I guess the next generation must have grown up, hit the generation that like period that I was in when I play it religiously, and have just taken the place of all these people who have moved on. Because you look at how popular the mobile version is, like Call of Duty Mobile is outrageously popular and free to play, might I add, which is the model that the games should absolutely go. But yeah, Activision will always be fine if they can afford to pay their fucking CEO bonuses like Bobby Kotick's getting. They've got nothing to worry about anytime soon. Balan Wonderland was the other thing that we mentioned before we pushed record.
Yes.
It tanked predictably, didn't it? I don't think anybody was expecting that game to be any good. And it's just absolutely.
I want to know the story. Yeah, I want to know the story behind that, because I remember when they showed that, they announced it on that Xbox special, whatever thing that was, during Video Game Awards or whatever. It was announced, or a reveal trailer.
It was the thing. Me and you watched it together. It was that Xbox event last summer, wasn't it? We tried we live streamed it on your channel, and it was like, this is boring as fuck. Like, neither of us have ever been.
And it looked rough then. And I remember thinking, that doesn't look like it's anywhere near ready, but cool. All right. And after it released and I started seeing some people tweet about it, or even just when the demo went up and people were like going, oh boy, yikes, this has a long way to go. I was like, all right. So I just didn't pay much attention to it. And then when I realized people were tweeting about buying it or picking up, showing the game case and whatever, hey, I got Balan Wonderland. I'm like, oh God. And then the reviews started going up and I watched a couple. I was like, fucking hell, like they released that? Like, it looks unfinished, It's, I don't know. I want to know what the story is behind that. It's like they just put it out, just put it out to die for whatever reason.
I don't know if it's a case of they put it out to die. I think when it previewed after the games of summer, which, as we've touched on a bajillion times, lasted the whole fucking year. When it previewed, everybody came away from those hands-on previews going, this is the worst video game I've ever played. This is trash. And I think after that kind of a reception, they probably, rather than going, let's pump a bunch of money into fixing this, because it's a Square game, right? Square Enix.
Yeah.
They've got too many problems on their hand to be spending time fixing that. You think that flopped? Avengers lost a lot of money. Outriders, whatever deal they've made with Xbox has probably made them a considerable amount of money.
Yeah.
And it seems to be selling well on PC still. Not sure about PlayStation. There's been no numbers and things there. But yeah, the Balan Wonderworld. Let's just look, because I can see it on here. I don't want the audio to start, but other than the pitifulness that I've seen, I want to check out what review score IGN. Yeah, they have a 4. Bad.
Yeah. It's disappointing because the guys behind that are of Sonic the Hedgehog and Knights fame from Sega royalty, Yeah. And everyone is like, oh, this is going to be great. It's just the next kind of thing from these people. And then everyone's like, whoa, collectively, holy shit. Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. From Sonic the Hedgehog and Knights into Dreams co-creators Yuji Naka and Naoto Oshima, I want to say. Butchering some Japanese names there for you. The other two things that I think we'd touched on just slightly were Genshin Impact's a game we both played. Me more so than you.
Yeah.
I went back into that this week. That's something else I played this week. You know, I was saying I played something else. I can't remember what it was. It was Genshin Impact.
Right.
Just to make a bit of progress. I'm in that phase of that game now where it's like you have to grind exponentially to get to the next story bit. So rather than just being all in on it, every now and then I'll just play an hour and see what's changing and what's going on. The PlayStation 5 version of that game got a trailer. I don't know why. It's just footage from the game and goes, coming to PlayStation 5. It's like, well, it's already friggin' there via back and back. Don't get me wrong, I'm all happy for it to look nicer and probably run at a higher frame rate, but it is what it is. You're still waiting for controller on support on for the Kishi, right?
Yeah, like they made $1 billion already off that game and they can't get controller support going. What's up with that? Or
it's available on iOS. You just need to change your phone, mate.
No, that's too hard. Just to play a game. I bought a whole PS2 to play one game. I'm not bloody buying a new phone. But look, why is it not on Xbox? Just do it that, and I'll be good, and I can remote play the fucking thing. You know,
I'm desperately worried about the whole like fact that I can't move my save around because I've made significant progress on the PlayStation.
Have they announced anything about like save transfers?
Cross save is between PC and iOS and Android, and like any mobile platform and PC. There's crossplay.
Right.
And the PlayStation's version is unfortunately stuck on PlayStation. There's no reason behind it other than PlayStation. As we've come to know and loathe, that just happens. So, well, it's one of them things. I'd love for it to come to Xbox as well, or at least I suppose I've got the remote play feature from PlayStation. The final thing for this week, Mr. Chunt, Cyberpunk is all up in the news again. CD Projekt Red is all up in the news again. That's the big topic that we were like, what the hell happened this week? That's probably the biggest thing. So Cyberpunk developer CD Projekt Red had their investor update. It wasn't an earnings call or anything like that. It was just this is our plan going forward. So basically, we're going to continue to fix Cyberpunk. There will be, they specified micro DLCs, I believe. So it's not like a big expansion or anything. It's like, well, I'd imagine it's going to be mini stories. If you followed anything from the kind of fallout of Cyberpunk, there were supposed to be specific stories in the game that didn't make it in. And it had been assumed that they were kind of left on the cutting room floor, but they'd be added as micro stories later on. Imagine we're probably going to get a few of them, and they're going to obviously release the next gen version, which is what both you and I are waiting for. I stopped kind of 3 hours in and just was like, this is not in a playable state. Refund. I will give you my money when your game works. And they're also paying a bit of attention to The Witcher. So is it Monster Slayer, The Witcher Monster Slayer or something like that? Monster something or other.
It's like an AR game or something?
I think it's their AR game, that two guys built. So basically two developers built this AR kind of Pokemon Go-y version of a video game based around The Witcher. It's going to get some more updates this year, like yay, I guess. It's getting a Series X
Harry Potter one.
And PS5 patch. Again, wicked. I mean, it's pretty enough already, that video game. I don't know what more they can do to it. If it's stability, texture-based, great. I'm sure everybody will be happy to play it in a higher fidelity or frame rate.
It's still not back on PSN, Cyberpunk. Like even with all these updates, it's still not. Still not 1,000 updates.
I think this 1.2 patch, from what I've read this week, has done a lot of good. And they were probably hoping that this patch is what would let them back on PSN. But all of the coverage I've seen of it is, it fixes a bunch of stuff, but it fixes a bunch of stuff on the Pro variant and the Xbox One X. And it's like, if you still try and play this on base PS4 and base Xbox One, you're going to have a bad time. Like, they fixed some bugs, but they haven't fixed how janky it looks. They haven't fixed the fact that there's no textures in some characters' faces.
Wow.
So that's probably why they haven't let them back on yet. I mean, quite what we expect to happen. They can't work miracles. They're bound by bad tech, not bad tech, old tech. I mean, for the time, it was good technology, but
2013 or 2012 hardware.
Exactly, and how can you expect that to even want to run Cyberpunk?
At
a playable frame rate or resolution? It's just not going to happen, is it? So they,
Is the experience good enough for Cyberpunk? For someone like me who hasn't even touched the game, when I get to it with the Series X upgrade, is it going to be? You think it's going to be good enough for someone like me to play it and forget about all this shit? Without having
yeah,
any of that in the back of
absolutely,
my mind.
Absolutely, because the story that I've even played so far, the story is engaging. The story is
Right.
wicked. Like the world is gorgeous. The story's good. The moment to moment needs work, but they're working on it. The only thing for me that felt a bit weird was the shooting. Like, shooting is not fun. There's no, and again, you can't compare this to Destiny because it's widely regarded that it has some of the best shooting in the whole industry. Like, Bungie fucking nail it all the time. That to me feels good. That's that feedback loop of shoot, reload ability. Like, it feels good. This doesn't feel anywhere near that, but it's an RPG. It's not a first-person shooter, so to speak. So if they can get a bit of kind of the haptics sorted and make it feel like shots are connecting with the shooting, that'll improve. People had a lot of issue with the swords as well. Like, the sword play for first person was a bit floaty. The only thing I could probably compare that to myself would be, have you played the Elder Scrolls Online?
No.
On console? So
no.
Like, you imagine like in Skyrim and stuff, like you swing your sword, like you feel a connection, right? Imagine that connection didn't exist and you were just flinging around in air. That's like kind of how the sword play felt. But those things are fixable. And the thing that people have been commenting that they tried to fix that they maybe haven't been successful with this time around is the police spawning. So I experienced this when I played the game. So it'd be something like I'd accidentally run a pedestrian over when I was on a motorbike. Like, the pedestrian just starts walking in the middle of the fucking road and you just mow them down, a la GTA. But the police are on you like that. You've got no time to escape. It's like, well, I'm fucked. And they're significantly higher level than you. You can't... In GTA, you can shoot your way out of that situation and fuck off in a car and you're away. You can hide. You've escaped. No such luck in Cyberpunk. I think there's fundamentals of that code that need rewritten, but they'll get there. It is a game that I believe when it's fixed and in the state they wanted it to be in, that might not be for a year or two, but I think it'll still be an absolutely quality video game. But you do the right thing to wait for the patch. Absolutely, you called that before it released, and you've done the right thing. Absolutely. So CD Projekt also said that they want to develop sequels or games in both worlds simultaneously, and they want the tech to scale alongside each game, so they can, say, take findings from the next Witcher game and implement it straight into what they're doing with whatever the Cyberpunk follow-up is. It seems like they've cancelled the multiplayer portion, or it's not going to be a standalone game. I don't think their engine's good enough. They wanted to make like a Cyberpunk GTA Online, and it's not good enough.
Well, I think whatever resources they had allocated for that are now just...
they've been absorbed into fixing the game. Like, absolutely. The best thing for CD Projekt to do as a business is probably to make the next Witcher game. And get back some good faith.
Get back to what works. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we know already that it was intended they weren't going to use Geralt as the centerpiece for whatever the next Witcher game is. I predicted way, way back when we were all playing that game that the next game would be focused around Ciri. It would be her game.
That'd be logical.
I still think that's probably the case. Or they go back prior to Geralt's time and they do a prequel. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But at least they are fixing the game. They're sticking true to what they said. So far, it's so on time. When at the start of the year, they were like, look, we fucked this up. The heads of the company are still massive idiots. Like, they're liars, and think of them what you will, but they've hit these dates. They want the PS5 and Series X version out by the end of this year. It was originally said that it was September time, wasn't it? Q2 was when they were looking. Q2, Q3. I don't think it comes till the end of the year. I think it's probably a Christmassy time, and I'm fine to wait for it. I've got other stuff to play. In the meanwhile,
I'll probably have another push, like advertisement push around Christmas time or holiday time.
And when these consoles are available, which they still aren't, you still struggle to find a Series X or a PS5 for love of money. So that's what's happened this week. This conversation has been Exactly that. It's been a conversation. It's been all over the place, but not
Just
a lot's
like this
happened.
week.
But we don't miss a week. We don't miss a week, John.
No. That's one thing.
No, we stick to it. The only break we've taken was for Christmas, just like everybody else.
Respect.
So yeah, you're gonna be away next week, so we'll stick to this format with just me and Dan. Weirdly enough, it's me that's the traveler, and I'm the only person that's made every episode. So do with that what you will. I've definitely seen nothing else that's happened this week that I'd want to talk about. Anything else from you?
No, it's been pretty quiet, man. I've already mentioned whatever I wanted to speak about. That's for sure. I just want more Xbox backwards compatibility news and remote play news. I'm actually just really hyped about all that. Even though I spend most of my time at home, it's just good to know, officially that one day all my games are going to come with me wherever they are. And I have a feeling, man, I really do. When we were talking about the Vita, I think all this outcry and the efforts that Microsoft is doing and the outcry to PlayStation with what they've done, and Xbox having that new Xbox Limited Series branding that they've put out, those $500 headsets, whatever, that's just obscene. But there's a premium market. There's a premium market out there, but all that just leads me to believe it's like, well, maybe this is all just coming to something of like an official device that Xbox might put out for their cloud service or the cloud gaming and remote play. Like, you can use your phone, fine, but here's an official thing that is guaranteed performance and stylized and themed and all that kind of shit. Like, I would be there for it. I'm the kind of guy that would buy that, even though I've got my Kishi, which is the Xbox version with all the buttons and shit on it. I want it. I really do. And just the Vita you're talking about, it makes me want one because it's that experience. There's something cool about just chilling out to a couple of YouTube videos or have a podcast on TV or just some random show that you're just not really too invested in and you're just grinding out on a game or whatever. There's something appealing about that. I think they shouldn't lose. Like, there's a market there for it. Nintendo's obviously proven that, and Xbox is doing their own spin on it. And I think Sony's just shot themselves in the foot by not supporting their device. I hope they all come out with something, even though Sony will probably just leverage their PlayStation app on everybody's phone. I think there'll be a point where the marketing will change to be like, argument's sake, like Gears 6 is available literally everywhere, when it launches, not just on Xbox. It'll be everywhere that there's a Game Pass service, which is literally everywhere, like on every phone, every browser, every Xbox, every tablet. Why wouldn't you just go in on that and put out your own device that enthusiasts like me will want and just put it under the limited series banner? I'm all about that shit. I've got the headset, for God's sakes. Yeah, I'm just dreaming at the moment. Don't mind me.
Yeah, I think it's right. It's the right thing to do. They're preserving video games, and if they need to stick out a handheld variant of something, I don't think they ever will. I think they're deep invested in the mobile platform, to be honest. Not to shit on your dreams, mate, but I really don't see it happen. And Sony the same. I think it's the same discussion that you could have around, will they do a sequel to the Vita? Will there be another Sony handheld? I mean, we saw patents filed that looked a little bit like a Switch, but PlayStation 4. We spoke about this months ago by this point on the podcast. And if we'd be interested in something like that. And again, like, I absolutely would. I think we spoke back then about, would it have similar power to a PS4, a base PS4, but maybe a 720p screen, and operate exactly like the Switch does, and you dock it and you get 1080p gaming. Like, you think about their audience, like the Japanese audience. We've said millions of times about the whole space situation and the fact that a PS5 is that big, and that's the digital only version, and it's that big. So yeah, it's something that could happen. I'm all for handheld gaming.
I think they will. I think they will, man. I really do. They'd be silly not to just. It's money on the table. If you look at PSVR, is such a small niche. Like, I would argue smaller than their handheld divisions everywhere. Like their PSP sold 80 million units, but a large portion of that is because you realize you could crack the thing and emulate on it, which you can for the Vita as well.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it was broken.
and-
The PSP was broken within like 3 weeks of coming out. That was why it sold
was
so
great.
well.
Yeah, I used to have one. I cracked the shit out of it. But like, even if Xbox put one out, like their own little handheld thing, and it didn't have a data card or whatever, a SIM card in it, I would be fine just hotspotting from my phone to the device, even though, yeah, it's an additional source.
The internet's got to
it's the
get
same
better for
thing.
that to work, though. That's the point. Like, people are not, the internet's not readily that accessible.
Or even just on your local Wi-Fi, which my phone is just always on. I barely use my mobile data because I'm always at home these days. But I think there's ways around it, man. I'm just being the optimist here. I want these things. I got the Snyder Cut to exist, man. I will get this to exist too.
You will.
Yes.
You will make it happen.
100%. Otherwise, I'm done. There's nothing else to really talk about that I'm interested in.
Awesome. Well, you can sign us off and go on your jollies, mate. And I'll be back next week with Daniel.
I'll have fun in my absence, and like I said to Dan, try to make up the time without my 18 to 20-minute diatribes that I go on sometimes. You just let me go. But yeah, I'm gonna go keep packing my bags and turn into bed and chill.
I think it's very different when it's just the two of it. When it's two people, because it becomes much much less structured and much more of a back and forth conversation. So I'm sure we'll be fine. You and I have managed to crack 45 minutes. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. I have total faith in you.
Winning.
Right. Well, toodaloos, everybody. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
And I'll see you next week.